Hey there, I am back with another deck review, and today I'm going to be looking at the Solstice deck from King's Wild Project. This is the May deck in the King's Wild Shorts line, which is the premier subscription service from King's Wild Project. If you're not a member already, I absolutely recommend checking it out. Just the creativity that comes out in this line is second to none. So lots of uniquely inspired decks, and they're different every single month. Now, this month, the theme is the summer solstice, hence the name of the deck, Solstice. Few things about the deck. So the solstice, first of all, refers to basically the beginning of summer. And so if you imagine the Earth tilting on its axis, the solstice is the day when the Earth is tilted most towards the sun, meaning that in that hemisphere, it's going to be the summer, it's going to be the longest day of the year. And so that's what the solstice is all about, and what the inspiration behind this deck was. Now, this was initially intended to be the June deck because the summer solstice falls on June 20th, at least in the Northern Hemisphere. So it was intended to be released in June, but because of COVID and production delays, he actually ended up reversing it. So became the May deck in the series just because it was ready to go. So we'll see the May deck in June, but Solstice is what we get today. Now, interestingly, this one is actually a throwback and kind of a sister deck to the very first deck in the King's Wild Shorts line, and that's the Equinox. This was released all the way back in 2018 to mark the autumnal equinox, and was the first deck in the line. This is actually the later 2019 reprint, but it is the same design, and you can see a lot of the similarities between the two decks. So meant to be a sister deck to the Solstice, but kind of a cool throwback concept on this one. Now, let's take a look at the cards. Now, that comes in a few different tucks. I get both the standard and the limited levels. So standard is an unlimited, limited, of course, is a limited edition. This one comes to a total of 500 decks individually numbered. But the cards inside are the same. So we're just gonna look at the cards of the standard version. Give you a chance to look at both tucks. Now, starting with the standard edition tuck. It's a really simple and clean design. Matte red tuck case, and it has this debossing on the front with foil. Just says Solstice, very simply. Nothing printed on the sides. The bottom just has some ad copy, again in that deboss and foiling for Jackson Robinson. And you can see this is manufactured by the Expert Playing Card Company. Nothing printed on the top. And the back's not the back design of the cards, but has this very simple kind of circular and floral almost design debossed and foiled into the back. So that is the standard tuck. There's nothing printed on the inner flaps or the interior of the tuck case, just that plain red. Now, taking a real quick spin at the limited version of the tuck, this is the one that's obviously meant to look like the original Equinox deck, but it is done in really heavy foiling. So the entire deck is foiled, and you can see a beautiful repeated pattern over the top, kind of 2/3 of the deck. It's the same pattern that we saw on the back of the tuck here. So this is what you see here, but now it's in full color with kind of reds and greens and blues all kind of mixed in there. So multiple colors of foil creating this beautiful repeated pattern that wraps all the way around the tuck. The bottom part is also foiled, and it's sort of these repeating red and blue lines kind of forming a design at the bottom. And then it's wrapped with this sticker seal around the edge. It says Solstice by Jackson Robinson. You got May 2020 there on the side, referencing the month of the deck. And it is, of course, numbered on the back as a limited edition. So 265 is my edition number. The bottom here, just plain blue, so you can see the actual base color of the tuck there in blue. No ad copy on it, and the top is just a continuation of the pattern. So that's the limited edition tuck. Now, like I said, the cards are the same between both editions, so we're gonna go into the cards, but just looking at the standards. And of course, we'll start with the back design, and here it is. Really striking back design, beautiful repeated pattern, same thing that we saw on the limited tuck, just of course not foiled, but you can see it's basically the same design. And kind of features a lot of, at a glance, kind of looks almost like kind of olive green and yellow and red. A lot of different colors mixed in there, and you can get a good look at that repeated pattern there. A little bit of kind of a floral almost look to it, but it's a really beautiful design, and it's a completely borderless design. You combine that with the fantastic registration that you get from Expert Playing Card Company. I tend to prefer borderless designs be printed, by expert. Now, interestingly, as good as the overall registration, especially left to right, is, it's not perfect top to bottom. You can see here the circles are cut off a little bit at the top, but it is still a really beautiful and repeated borderless design, and one that's going to show up great in fans. Now, into the cards. You do get 2 extra cards. They're both jokers and feature a similar design. Both of them feature this really abstract view of the sun. That's what this is meant to be up at the top. This sort of circular radial pattern there, done in kind of oranges and reds and a little bit of yellow in there as well. So really beautiful, fades out at the top. One of them says very simply, lead a quiet life underneath. And the other one has an abstract representation of the earth. And you can sort of see from the tilt of the earth, the lit and the shaded part of the earth, kind of meant to represent that this is the solstice where it's tilted towards the sun, so you see a higher percentage of it lit. And then fading down from the bottom, you have a really faint view of that back design pattern done in kind of an olive green. So really cool, striking, abstract view on the 2 jokers. Now into the cards, you do get full custom deck, starting with the Ace of Spades. Has a very simple custom spade pip in the center, says Solstice in the center, and then it's lined with laurel leaves in olive green. You have a faint, almost watermark look of the repeated back design there as well. And it says King's Wild Project, designed by Jackson Robinson. Custom pips and indices in the corner. A very simple, elegant, and a much smaller pip in the corner as well. The court cards, or the number cards rather, all feature those same custom pips, but still very easily readable and all in a pretty standard layout. So there are your number cards. And then you get into the courts, and they're really beautiful, simple but beautiful designs. I love the detailed line work and just the clean look that's applied to all these courts. They're done in a lot of olive green and yellow on them. And then you can see some of the clothing is patterned with that back design as well. So you can see it there on the kind of arms of the Jack of Spades here. And then on the sort of banner off to the side of the Queen of Spades. So you'll get a little bit of a touch of that, but I love the unique line design of these that's carried through. Now, all of the aces are going to feature that kind of watermark look of the back design. So you do get a little bit of extra customization on the aces, but the red number cards are the same with a slight addition to that, slightly modified pip. I get into the court cards, and here are the diamond court cards. More of the same. Here's the clubs, little extra touches there. So very recognizable as classic court cards, but given a unique style from Jackson Robinson. And down through the club number cards, you can really see that custom pip there. There's your ace of clubs and the heart courts closing it out. Love the colors used on this one. That green and yellow really goes nicely together, and the little pops of red just add quite a bit to it as well. And then down to the ace of hearts. So that is the deck. Now, as far as handling, Expert Playing Card Company, they're going to handle a little bit different. They're maybe slightly stiffer usually, although these are fairly thin and snappy. They're going to fan really nicely. And honestly, even if you're not particularly good at fanning, borderless designs tend to be fairly forgiving in terms of showing up well with a fan, but these handle really, really nicely. Definitely a smooth feel to them. Cuts, everything you're going to handle well. And what would I use the deck for? Well, obviously, a lot of these are going to be great as collector decks from Jackson Robinson, but this is also a really functional deck. It's definitely usable for gameplay, for Magic. Borderless designs tend to not be great for certain Magic tricks, but the faces are definitely readable, recognizable enough to be used for Magic. Great for gameplay. Decent for cardistry as well. They're going to show up really, really nicely in fans, and they handle nicely enough for cardistry. But gameplay and Magic are really going to be great for this one. And of course, just as a collector's deck, like all the King's Wild Shorts line. So that's it. That is the look at the Solstice deck. I love the theme. I love the throwback to the original Equinox decks. I think it was a nice touch. Shame that it couldn't be released in the month of the Equinox or the Solstice as was originally planned, but I think it's still just another really strong and As usual, beautiful design from Jackson Robinson. So that's it. Look at the Solstice deck. Hope you enjoyed. Let me know what other decks you want to see. Subscribe for more deck reviews and unboxings, and I'll see you for the next one.